Hello everyone, it's the Historical Gamer, and today we're returning to Strategic Command, World War II, World at War. This is part 15 of our Let's Play series, playing as the Allies. You may remember that we played an 80-plus part series as the Axis, in which we won total victory as the Axis, and now we are moving on to the war from the Allied perspective, which is an interesting and yet very different challenge. The Axis side, you are fighting completely with all of the initiative and sort of driving the gameplay from the very start of the game, whereas the Allies, you're basically kind of reacting to the German moves, just trying to hold out as long as you can in Poland and France, Yugoslavia and Greece, until you're in a better position to fight a counteroffensive. But we are in the midst of that German offensive right now. Last turn, the Germans invaded Yugoslavia, and they had quite a bit of success, taking the city of Zagreb in the north and Skopje in the south. Meanwhile, the German corps here to the southeast of Belgrade has been surrounded, although probably not for long. As soon as these Italian troops move up from Skopje, or these Bulgarian troops from Sofia, they will be back in supply. But it's hoped that the mere act of surrounding them will cut their supplies off long enough to delay their participation in any sort of attack on Belgrade, the capital of Yugoslavia. It is our hope that we can hold out for 2 more turns. We may only hold out for this last turn here. But the hope is that we can hold out for 2 more turns and further delay the invasion of the Soviet Union until June of 41 per history. Otherwise, the Germans might begin the offensive in May, which would be 1 more turn of good weather for the Germans to try and overrun the Russians. Speaking of the Russians, we have established a defensive line well inside the Soviet Union's territory. The hope is that we are far enough away from the German front line that the Germans won't actually be able to hit our lines until the second turn of the war, by which point they will lose some of the benefits that they gain. So the Germans have some gameplay advantages that give them sort of the surprise Barbarossa advantages that they get, which allows them to get a huge advantage in the initial engagements from a odds perspective. The hope is that by falling back from the Russian border and pursuing a defense in depth on these river lines here in the interior of the Soviet Union, that we eliminate some of those initial advantages of the Germans and make it less likely that they cripple the Soviet Union early in the war. With that being said, we also have some troops here in the west. We've got a garrison at Kaunas, a garrison at Bialotsk, a garrison at Brest-Litovsk, and the fortification there, as well as at Przemysl. And the hope is here that they can eat up some of the German armored units' initial attacks, which will, again, prevent them from racing all the way forward and attacking us anyway, and delay, again, the advance into Russia. Hopefully the Germans don't launch an early invasion of the Soviet Union. I think they invaded France a turn early, so I'm hoping that they aren't able to do that. A lot depends on how Belgrade goes. Meanwhile, the Greek theater, the Italians have had no success. No surprise here. Mussolini's troops have run into stagnation, largely driven by the terrain. We haven't actually done anything to hold them up. They just simply haven't advanced, with the exception of a lone corps here south in Ionia, which is actually surrounded and hopefully will be destroyed next turn, but we'll see. We've sent a lone British garrison unit here from Cyprus. The intent here was to just provide a morale boost for the Greeks, and supposedly that has worked. Meanwhile, in North Africa, we have taken Benghazi. We destroyed an Italian army at Tobruk, an Italian corps at Benghazi. However, the German Africa Corps has arrived and has been dealing some serious blows to our defending forces, and we are a little bit worried that they may flank and retake Tobruk. They may cut our entire North African force off. I'm not 100% sure what will happen, but it's a very tenuous situation, and we'll find out very soon. Not a lot going on in England. In China, meanwhile, we've established a new Maginot line here in central China, with fortifications ranging from the east of Yichang all the way north toward Changchao. We also have a couple of armies out here to the east of those positions, and we have been drubbing the Japanese. We've suffered some casualties. We nearly lost the 12th Army at Changchao. We lost an entire army here to the east of Changchao just a turn ago. But we also just destroyed a Japanese army south of Changchao and a paratrooper army to the even further south. Additionally, we destroyed a Japanese army here to the east of Pakoi, and we've advanced in southern China to retake the city of Amoy. So we've actually had quite a bit of success in southern and central China at driving the Japanese back. If the Japanese were to declare war on the British right now, Hong Kong would be in no danger at all. We also destroyed a Japanese army at Canton and retook that vital Chinese city. So we've had a lot of success in the south of China, but the Japanese still have an overwhelming number of troops and qualitative advantages with air power and other elements, as well as naval assets. I think the main question is if the Japanese divert any large-scale units to the south to deal with the fact that we're on the offensive here, or if they continue pressing their advantage in the center and north of China. But if they do that, again, we could roll their flank up and force them to redeploy. We just got an armored unit here. The 200th Mechanized Light Tank Forces in China just arrived. So it'll be really interesting to see how that all plays out. Whew, that's a mouthful, right? All right, well, that's enough of me rambling. This is the courtesy 5 minutes of me talking but not playing. Let's get playing. Let's see what the the Japanese and the German forces have in store for us. Italian morale is lowered by the loss of Benghazi, so that's good. National morale takes a hit. Greenland becomes U.S. protectorate. Kaufman allows presence of American troops, so that should help in the Battle of the Atlantic, which we're not really fighting. Suez Canal limits Italian supply in Abyssinia. Really? They just did that? Italian human torpedoes attack Allied shipping at Alexandria. They did a serious toll on the aircraft carrier base there. Shit. Axis raiders are disrupting Canadian-UK convoys. Americans are having success in armored warfare development. USSR is developing infantry weapons level 1. That's very good for us. We should probably spend the bulk of our money building that. But we also need to build 2 more corps of infantry, 1 more corps of infantry, hopefully before the Germans attack. I really need to put something in Riga. Okay. Actually, no, I think we moved a mechanized unit in Riga, but we do have one or two holes in our lines. Meanwhile, Japanese carriers are attacking. Ooh, there goes the Greek Navy. Japanese... Oh, shit! The Bismarck is loose! The Germans just moved a battleship into the channel? That was so incredibly stupid. And it's stuck there, too. It got the little circle around it, which means it can't move. Japanese are pulling back some troops. Looks like they're shifting some troops, too. We're hearing some rail indications that they're moving troops by rail. The continued attacks on the Yugoslavian... Belgrade's not going to last. It's already down to 4 just from air attacks. Japanese air units in China having a good day, I think. Armored units are attacking the South African troops. The 1st British Corps is gone. Benghazi was perhaps retaken this turn, I'm not sure, but at the very least they destroyed the British 1st Infantry Corps, which was based at Benghazi. Meanwhile, a Chinese corps here to the west or east of Paotao, badly battered, although not destroyed, interestingly enough. Our army at Chengchao suffers several attacks, but actually is better off so far this turn than they were last. They were down to 3 hit points last turn. They're at 6 right now. Meanwhile, the bulk of the Axis attacks here are in the north of Yugoslavia here, toward Novi, whatever it's called. But they do still have enough troops here to attack at Belgrade, and they did just successfully destroy the infantry unit in Belgrade. Meanwhile, the 7th Armor is being attacked in North Africa. The Italians move into Belgrade, that's kind of interesting, though, because the Italians took Belgrade, which means that Italy will plunder Belgrade, which means that the weaker of the Axis powers will get the income from Belgrade rather than the Germans. So actually, that's a very positive development, in my opinion, because what it means is when Yugoslavia surrenders, it will not be a German-led country, which the way this game works is if the Germans succeed in taking a country over by taking its capital, all of the economic output will go to the German coffers. If the Italians take a country, then it'll go to the Italian coffers, and the Italians are vastly weaker from a national morale perspective, and also just sort of the effectiveness of their troops, their research and development, all these other things. So, aside from holding Yugoslavia, which is unrealistic, best case scenario is that Yugoslavia falls to the Italians. And that just happened. I'm much better with Italian troops getting more money than Germans. Meanwhile, as the turn ends, the USSR is signing a non-aggression pact with Japan. The popular singer Al Boli dies during an air raid. Which is funny because there's been basically no German air activity over England the entire war. The Germans have never tried a Battle of Britain. I don't think this is the kind of game that's well suited to modeling a Battle of Britain, but anyway. The WDF army is destroyed. That's the army that was in Benghazi. The Greek heavy cruiser Gorgiris Everov was sunk. Bosnian Corps and Belgrade Corps destroyed. Yugoslavia surrenders. 6th Corps of Germany suffers attrition. The Simonora Italian Corps suffers attrition. Yugoslavia surrenders. The USSR signs a non-aggression pact. And the popular singer Al Boli dies during an air raid. And we get some intelligence about different units that are located on different spaces in the map. Okay. So this is the interesting moment. Does Germany decide to launch an invasion of the USSR in May of 41, or do they wait for June? Do they need time to relocate their troops that had been in Yugoslavia, or do they launch it perhaps without all of their troops in place. I thought we had a new unit that was ready. Are they not ready till next turn? I'm going to move some troops around. Just because I think it's less likely the Germans can get anyone here than over here. So we just reposition some troops in these fortifications. I also want to upgrade this mechanized force now that we did research infantry level 1. These guys are most likely to face a German attack on day 1. Maybe we should just upgrade all of them immediately. That, or as many of them as we can. That will probably prevent me from being able to buy the infantry corps that I want to buy. So maybe we should just stop as soon as we reach 165 in terms of our upgrading. I don't plan to upgrade the corps that are on the front line, the garrison units that are on the front line, because they're just going to die right away. Okay, so we can only upgrade these 5 units here along the border. Our other units, we're going to need to purchase a new unit here. Soviet Union, Corps, infantry weapons, purchase. All right, so that's all of our Soviet money there. We've got 14 left. It's not enough to upgrade anybody except maybe these corps here. I guess we might as well upgrade the corps in a fortification there, or the garrison in a fortification there. Gives it a slightly better chance to hold out. Yeah, so it's going to take a while to upgrade all our Soviet troops. Again, we really need to hope that the Germans don't attack right away so we can upgrade more of our troops. We'll see. The Italian corps here in Greece is surrounded. Can we finish them off? Yeah, we got him! We got him, boys! All right. So maybe the Germans won't invade Russia until they've dealt with Greece? Because Greece is still around, folks. The little pester, the little sore in Germany's allied side. They just destroyed an Italian corps here in the south near Ionia. And hopefully that means they're not quite ready to do anything against us. Where the hell is the Italian Navy? Where did we destroy the entire Italian Navy? That's what I want to know. Because we just reconned Tarantino, we just reconned all the Yugoslavian ports, Pola, Venice, Anaconia, Rome, Naples, Palermo, Calabria. Where the hell? Guys, I honestly think, I don't. If you remember, several turns ago, we launched somewhat of a suicidal attack against the Italian Navy with the French Navy and the oh shit, I just dove from attack. But if you remember, several turns ago, we launched somewhat of a suicidal attack against the Italian Navy in the Mediterranean with the British fleet and the oh my god, I'm blanking on the name. We used the French and the British Navy against the Italian Navy in the Mediterranean, and we suffered several big ship losses, but we might have actually broken the back of the Italian Navy. If we go in here and we take a look, the British Navy has 32 units, the Americans 6, the Russians 3, the Germans have 16 units, the Japanese have 17. The Italians apparently only have 2 naval units left, so we destroyed the Italian Navy. Huzzah for that. Meanwhile, if we take a look at Italian national morale, they're at 76%. Presumably they get a little bit of a boost for taking Yugoslavia, but they just lost a corps in Greece. So I'm guessing the Germans are going to move the 15th Army south here and take Thessalonica, which is probably going to drop Italian morale pretty heavily. We've got fortifications north of Thessalonica, but we pulled our troops out to defend Athens. So if the Germans do turn their focus toward the Greeks, then the Greeks are going to fold pretty quickly. But it might mean another turn before the Germans actually invade Russia, or maybe they'll fight both at the same time. That's certainly possible. In any event, the North African theater. Yes, what is going on down here? Let's attack the Africa Corps headquarters. Oh no! All right, well that's an interesting. So this is an interesting move. So I just cut off the Germans from their supply. Granted, they retook Benghazi, so they may get a little bit of supply there. But this bold thrust by me because I'm so brilliant. Yes. Against the Africa Corps and the headquarters unit under Rommel. We're doing a fair bit of damage here. I can't hit them. Damn it! Can we switch their mode? Mix? Does that make a difference? Not really. In any event, let's bring these guys back. Bombard these guys. Bombard these guys. Alright, so we're going to limit supply at Benghazi by our naval assets in the region. Meanwhile, we've cut off the direct access for the German Africa Corps tank units and the anti-tank units. That's fine. Pull these guys back a little bit. I really need more ground units in the region. Alas, they can't reach there in time. So we're going to move these guys to Gibraltar. The Italian Free French Corps is on the way. And the Smuts Heavy headquarters. So hopefully they'll arrive next turn. My hope is that by cutting these guys off with the first... Oh, it wasn't the first British Corps, it was the British Army. Nonetheless, the first British Corps and the second South African Corps, hopefully the Germans will attack south and north to re-establish supply with the troops near Benghazi, with the headquarters unit here to the south, and divert any attack toward Tobruk for another turn or two. I can't fucking take these guys out. I need to frickin' take these guys out, but I can't. I just don't have enough logistical support here in East Africa that these guys are still bottled up here and not doing anything against the Italian troops near Mogadishu. I guess we'll reinforce the carrier that just got hit by Italian frogmen. Our British income went way up last turn, by the way. Alright, so the German battlecruiser Gneisenau is in the channel, and we are going to destroy the fuck out of it. Alright, so a little bit of a battle there. I don't think... Is it in... Yeah, it's in stormy weather. So I can't bomb it with aircraft because of the weather. But I can use my navy. The stupid thing is the way that the hit point system works here is it's like, the Gneisenau is mauling the entire British fleet. It's like, well, if like 12 British battleships all sailed up against the Gneisenau, she would be pretty much toast. In any event. Can we move that here? Oh, don't do that. Really? Set mode. Naval. There we go. Italian interceptors? The Italian Air Force is in France. Okay. We'll have fun with that. We just destroyed 4 of your units. And there goes the German ship. There goes the Gneisenau. Huzzah for that. So the German Navy takes a little bit of a beating. It hasn't updated, I guess. Oh, no. They're down to 15. So we just destroyed a German battleship. In terms of MPPs, that means this turn Germany just lost in, well, one fell swoop. They lose vast amounts of income. Although somehow their income is over 560, so that must be because we gave them a buff. We're playing a +1 strength Germany, not the stock difficulty, so. That kind of sucks. Okay, bomb the Hague. What, you're not doing any damage to the German economy? Curse you! Alright, so we didn't even need to use the Prince of Wales. Can't upgrade these guys because the ports are too small. We'll have to move them to Glasgow and to Liverpool. These guys are already built up. Those guys already moved. Can't reinforce the fighters there because they already flew. Okay. So I think that does it for the actual warfare moves. Again, my hope is that Greece and its continued survival distracts the Germans from an invasion on Russia until Greece is dealt with. If that's the case, maybe Greece will last 2 more turns. I don't know. We'll see. Meanwhile, moving to China. Successful attack there. Nice. Yeah, we got it! We got it, boys! We destroyed the Japanese corps in the south here near Pakoi and are now taking Haku. So Hainan Island has fallen to the Chinese. Pakoi has fallen. Southern China has been liberated from the German threat, or from the Chinese, or the Japanese threat. Words, they're difficult. Can our armor do anything? Apparently not. These troops are dug in, apparently. Alright, so their fortifications, level 2 fortifications there. These guys have any supply? 5. Alright, so let's reinforce these guys. I'm going to reinforce both these armies to max strength. Central China, this army here needs to reinforce, but I don't want to use all my income on it. Because I've got this corps here that needs... We're going to pull these guys back. That would not be wise, but I'm falling back into Pao Tao itself. So we'll see how that works out. There's 4 Japanese armies up here in the north. And they could theoretically attack this guy. That was probably dumb. Probably not so smart on my part. Not so smart on my part. Not so smart on my part. Alright, these guys have fallen back, so let's reinforce them. Let's upgrade their units, or their weapons to infantry weapons level 1. These special forces troops probably could use their weapons upgraded too, but we don't have the money for that. These guys haven't upgraded yet, but we can't. We don't have enough money to do that. Alright. So, I think that's going to be that in the Chinese theater. Not as active a turn. I may have made a mistake. We won't know quite yet if I did or not. Meanwhile, the drive on Amoy continues. We've knocked out the Japanese near Pakoi, so I think, honestly, we can probably shift all of these units here to the east to continue the drive on Fuzhou, because my goal is to take Fuzhou and then drive north to Hangzhou, a wide flanking maneuver on these Japanese armies. If we could either force them to redeploy and completely cancel out their offensive, or take key cities of Fuzhou, Hangzhou's probably a stretch, Shanghai, Nanjing, we could completely undermine the Japanese war effort in China. Probably getting a little too aggressive, a little bit too optimistic, perhaps. Let's reinforce these fighters. Okay. Alright, so the British have 360 income. I don't know what to do diplomacy-wise. I mean, it'd be nice to bring the USSR closer, but they're going to be at war soon anyway. Same for the USA. Like, most of these... I just don't know how important... Other than maybe keeping Spain in check. Which... I just don't know if I want to deal with that right now. The Americans, again... From a research perspective, we should probably spend more for the U.S. U.S. is near its max research funding. The British are nowhere near it. We'll bump a little bit in spying and intelligence. Should we do... I don't know if armored or infantry warfare really has a big impact or not. I'm really not sure. What can we do with 200 income for the British? Can we buy anything worthwhile? We can buy a new army with infantry, anti-tank, and mobility. So I guess we'll do that. We'll buy an army for the British. Meanwhile, the Indians have 202. The Indians can't buy an army. It's too expensive. They can buy a corps. For research for the Indians... We're researching infantry weapons already. Spying is already being researched. Infantry weapons are already being, or infantry warfare is already being researched. Honestly, I'm just going to sit on the Indian money. I want to raise an Indian army. So I think that's probably about it for this turn. As we move toward April, I think the big question is, in the next turn, will the Germans attack Russia, or will they wait? Because if they wait, then that means we're going to get till June till an actual German attack on the USSR, which moves us, obviously, 1 month closer to the winter, and the Germans get a big penalty against them in the winter of 41. So that could be a huge advantage for us if the Germans are forced to wait until winter. Meanwhile, a huge success in southern China this turn for our troops there. That is very gratifying to see that. And a Chinese counteroffensive in southern China driving on Amoy, east from Amoy toward Fuchao, hopefully diverting substantial Japanese forces from the north and any continued offensives there, which will only prolong the war even further and require the Japanese to continue investing resources in a conflict they have no desire to invest resources in when they're going to be facing off against the United States before too long. We're really trying to turn China into Japan's Vietnam, as it was historically. The British still have a little bit of money. I probably should have looked at using some of that again for reinforcing some of our ships here in the first place. We can spend a little bit of it actually there. The Italian Navy, meanwhile, apparently was nearly destroyed, so good for us there. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this episode. I hope you have enjoyed, and until next time, as always, this is the Historical Gamer saying thank you very much for watching, and until next time, we're out.